My name is Jim Morrish. I'm founder and Chief Research Officer of Machina Research. We are the leading industry analyst in the M2M IoT space.
Well, from your name, I presume that you've been involved in the M2M world as well. When was however, for IoT, when was your aha moment where you really thought, okay, this may be just a brand or this may just be a name, but there's really something here?
Absolutely. Well, we had some inkling of the potential in this space when we founded the company. That's why we founded the company.
Okay.
But that's at an M2M level, and I think the real tipping point where I really realized how big this was going to be was when I was invited to go out to India to make a presentation in India, and they said specifically at the end of it, tell us what the impact of IoT is in India and to the systems integration and IT industries in India. And I sat down and thought about it for a while, and the realization came to me was that IoT subsumes IT. If you regard IoT, the definition of IoT as including everything which is consistent with IoT best practices, with IoT standards, de facto or formal standards, then really everything in IT becomes IoT. That's really quite big and fundamental. And I think that was the moment where suddenly I realized, actually, it's huge. It's far bigger than even IT. It's like IT plus connected devices.
Now, you have a number of clients. Can you reflect back and maybe share some best practices with our viewers?
Yeah, I can. I think that the fundamental to bear in mind is the difference between a connected product and a non-connected product. What is it you can do with that connected product? And it's very easy to think about that connectedness as kind of an increment on that on the unconnected product. It's kind of an extra function or an extra service. And really the best practice would be to look at a completely changed business model, to do things in a completely different way. And instead of saying, well, I could connect this car, great, it's a connected car, you might say, well, what about the model of car ownership? And actually, do people really want to own cars, or do they want to share cars? How do I better enable the sharing of cars? And that's a new business model. And it's about understanding, understanding how products and services should be used and could optimally be used, rather than thinking from today and increments forward from today.
Now, sometimes it's just hard to get started. What would be your recommendation? How do you get started in all this?
Well, the first thing to do, I mean, the first stage in all of this is, of course, to generate ideas. I mean, there's no substitute for getting together a group of people within the business to brainstorm a long list of ideas. But when the business has alighted or agreed on a few ideas which are particularly influential or particularly important and prioritized, there are some fairly rigorous or some fairly clear steps that have to be gone through in terms of identifying exactly what that solution is, what the user proposition is, why the user might want to avail of that proposition, and then the sort of next level down in terms of how that solution can be configured, the use cases, how people interact with it, and that drives what the systems and the solution looks like, and that drives the approaches to potential vendors who could help support that solution. And of course, because this is such a nascent industry, some of that feedback from vendors may be, actually what you wanted to do isn't possible, maybe for reasons of data privacy or data sovereignty, and then you've got to loop back and sort of rethink how the solution works. So there's this iterative process in there, and that really is a best practice, to be quite clear about what it is this solution will be doing and why, and to approach it in an open enough way that you can account for those gotchas when they happen down the line, because right now it's such a nascent industry that we can't see right the way through to an implementation exactly how the product or service or connected solution will work.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the IIC now.
Yeah.
Why did your company join the Industrial Internet Consortium?
Well, many people don't view the IoT as I do. The IoT is somehow conceived or somehow viewed as being a homogeneous mass of connected devices and everything connecting to everything. I don't think that's going to happen for some good time, certainly until I'm retired at least. I think that what's going to happen is that the IoT is going to be characterized by sort of subnets of things, which are going to be accelerated pools of development, communities of common and shared interest. which are going to effectively undergo an accelerated development. And enterprise IoT is one of those pools. The reality is that you've got a board, you have a company, it's a commercial enterprise, and it's incentivized, broadly speaking, in a common direction with its partners in different companies, etc. So it's possible to put in place, cross-company, sophisticated IoT solutions in a way that it isn't, or at least far faster than it is in a wider IoT where everything connects to everything, and motivations are far more fragmented and less aligned. So effectively, enterprise IoT becomes a microcosm of the wider IoT, but it's an accelerated microcosm, and that makes it very important and very influential in terms of the de facto standards, which will eventually be accepted and implemented and used by the wider IoT. And as an industry analyst, that was something I thought that we had to be involved with. I'd like to understand what this leading edge of development effectively of the wider IoT is within the microcosm of the enterprise.
And what are you hoping to get from your membership in the IIC?
I think the main thing we're looking to get from the membership is an understanding of where the industry is developing to. As I mentioned earlier, I think that many of the conclusions and the best practices and the frameworks that are generated in this environment with multiple inputs from different countries, each at the leading edge of their little area, many of those conclusions and frameworks will ultimately be adopted by the wider IoT, and it's about understanding that leading edge is really why we're participating in this organization.